Hey everyone, so in this tutorial we're going to have a look and explain and see the differences between the new and the old detailed normal map system. So as you remember how we did before in our materials, we used quite often a trick called using a detailed normal map to give surfaces a nice and rough look, like if we see in here in our cloth, for instance, we see that has some very nice, grainy kind of bumpy look we have in here, and it's very high frequency as well. This is something that you can never achieve with a normal map, a standard normal map, unless you use like a 4K texture, which is not feasible, obviously. So basically this is just a tiling normal map that tiles along your surface. So before you could either have a detailed normal map to give noise, or a detail map, which is basically a detail map. It's nothing more than just a noise to tile along your diffuse map. So before you could either use one or another. So if you actually go into our build really quick and go into game textures, and let's open up textures and let's go into detail, and let's open detail concrete and detail concrete DDN. Let's just drag and drop that into Photoshop really quick. So the differences between these is that this is our very standard detail normal map that we are already used to work with, and this is basically a noise map. It's called a detail map. That if say you are working with a very simple texture, a very simple diffuse texture, if you want to give it a little bit of noise, you can use a detail map. But before you could either use one or the other. Also, one thing I want to mention really quick. It's a bit off topic, but I sense it's important for those that don't know how this normal mapping system works. If you ever try to open a DDS file from within these pack files, you actually see that it's very washed out. The reason why that is because not all the information is on this DDS actually. So in fact, on these DDSs, you actually only have the red and the green channel working. So what happens is that when you export a texture for cry3, when the cry3 generates those DDS files in your texture folder, those DDSs are generated automatically by the resource compiler. So what they do is that they basically compress the normal map, but they not only compress the normal map, they also purge the blue channel completely, because the red channel, I don't know if you ever noticed, but if you actually opened one of the normal maps that you worked with, red channel has a lot of information, green channel has a lot of information, but the blue channel, which is the z-axis, it never has like a lot of information, right? It only has like a little bit. And this is actually very easy for the shader to mimic. So basically what the cry3 does is that it purges the blue channel completely, and the blue channel gets compiled on the fly by the shader. So the computational performance that you need to use in the shader to generate that blue channel, it's actually easier on performance than it would if you actually used all your normal maps with that extra channel in there. So it was a little bit off topic, but I wanted to get that out of the way and explain why these DDSs look so washed out, and why the normal maps are pretty small and very compressed on CryEngine. So that's that for the detail maps. So now let's open one of the new detail maps that you can use. So I already have one in here set up. For the sake of time, I already created one, which is here, concrete_detail. So as you can see here, it's a very weird texture, right? It looks like anything you've seen before. The reason why that is that you don't actually work with this directly. You don't actually work in a texture itself. You don't work in RGB. You work with these channels independently. So what this does is that the green channel and the alpha channel, what they are actually is that the green is actually the red channel of a normal map, and the alpha is actually the green channel of a normal map. So green is X and alpha is Y axis of the normal map. So again, the blue channel is not needed, like I explained it before. It's automatically generated by the shader, so that's why we don't need to have it here. So that leaves us with two channels in here, which is the red and the blue. So the blue is the detail diffuse. So you know that nice grainy noise map that I was talking about before? Now you can have it in here if you put it in the blue channel. So the red is just basically a gloss map. So the red would be how much you want your surface to reflect, and if you want your surface to be more fuzzy or to be more the reflections to be more sharper, etc. So the red is the gloss, blue is the diffuse, green and alpha is the detailed normal map. So let's close that and let's try that in the editor. So we have our old detail normal map loaded in here, our old school one. So let's just load up really quick our concrete with all the channels in there, concrete detail. So I'm gonna go into shader generation params and I'm gonna untick detail mapping, and I'm gonna tick it again, just so it refreshes the shader. Just so you dump the old one and bring the new back. So this actually is a little bit noisy, so I think I'm just gonna load up one that we can actually see what we're explaining. So I'm gonna go into defaults and I'm gonna load gray DVS. So now we can actually see what we're looking at. Let's just increase the glossiness a little bit. So now if you scroll down, we have 4 parameters in here: detail bump scale, detail diffuse scale, detail gloss scale, and detail tiling. So detail tiling, pretty self-explanatory. It dictates how much your texture will tile. So 2 tiles 2 times more. Detail bump scale, again, pretty self-explanatory. Just basically how rough you want your texture to be. And this is actually a proper normal map. So detail diffuse scale, it goes from 0 to 1. It's that nice grainy noisy texture if you wanna tile on top of your texture. And detail gloss scale. So as you can see here, just basically how you know how rough your reflections will be. So if you actually combine all these together, we can actually have a really interesting results in here apart from our base diffuse texture. Let me just bring the old concrete back. So we can actually add a lot of stuff in there. It doesn't look too good with this detail diffuse scale. I actually got it backwards. I should have switched the channels. The scale should have gone to the gloss scale, but as long as it gets the message across, that's what matters really. So it's really nice. It allows you to break up your surfaces really nicely, especially if you have a very simple diffuse texture. This is perfect to add that extra, that extra depth, that extra, information that will add a lot of believability to your surfaces.